Last round. Fight!
Hello and welcome to the Last Round Podcast. We're finally back. I'm your host, Dan Saunders. Joining me as always, my co-host, Anton Austin. Today we're here at Salford Striking Academy to speak with Daz Morris. Thank you for having us, mate.
How you doing, boys?
Not bad, yeah. I wanted to start off asking, because obviously you've promoted for a long time. Was it always kind of your goal to get into promoting at the start?
No, never. I'd done Thai boxing as a kid in Cholton with the late Oliver Harrison when I got bullied at school.
Right.
I then joined the Navy, boxed and all the rest of it, came back out and started Thai boxing again. Yada, yada, yada. And then I started Salford Muay Thai as it was at the time.
Yeah.
Which is obviously the precursor to this place that Mark Scare owns. And when we first started off as the gym, I never wanted to be the general gym, teaching kids and all the rest of that. All I was interested in was winning fights.
Right.
I was all I was interested in. So we had a very raw young gym, and we were out every weekend trying to establish ourselves in the northwest, in the country really, as a proper gym. I didn't want to be just them guys over there. I wanted to establish ourselves, and we did quite a good job of it. And the more shows you go to, the more things you see. And we went to a show in Sheffield once, run by Farad Ali, and I think the tickets were 25 quid. And I'm going back now, 2007, 2008, and 25 quid for the ticket back then. I mean, tickets now, 25, 30 quid, not much difference. And we were in some working men's club near Sheffield Wednesday's ground, and the place was, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And it stunk. It was like, it was just dirty, ripped seats. It was like a really bad conservative club. And I remember coming away thinking, I can do that miles better.
Yeah.
And I used to work across the road running a TV AV business for a friend of mine. And we were just talking about it one day, and obviously the guy I worked for used to train with me. And we said, you know what, let's just do it. So Master Skinner previously done his super show in the Premier Suite where you see Uk Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And we approached them, and it wasn't ridiculous money. We started pricing it up, and it's like, right, well, I want to do sort of the mentality of what the UFC do. I want to use that sort of, that big game changer. And I guess Rumble at the Reebok at that point was born.
That was, I guess, like your kind of shows back then were almost like the precursor to the Yak House shows, weren't they, really?
Uk Muay Thai's a completely different animal to anything we ever did. So obviously Uk Muay Thai's a big global branded name.
Yeah.
Essentially they're an equipment supplier before they're a promotion company. Brian, certainly Uk Muay Thai in the UK, Brian Calder. Brian was starting to promote at the same time we were. He was doing his shows in Scotland. Forgive me, I can't remember what they were called.
Yeah.
And you know, he was doing all right up there. And what we were doing down here was like nothing the UK had ever seen before. Obviously, we had the pyrotechnics, we had girls dancing, we had people jumping over the ropes, and I mean right up to the last shows where we had crowds of kids sat in the audience, and as the show's starting, these strategically placed kids would get up and start dancing in time with the other dancers. Flash mob or something they call it. So, and what we did, we tried to bring in the best domestic fights that the UK had to offer. Where Brian will bring the best of the world in. There's an MMA promotion from Russia called ACB, and their whole ethos is more fight, less show. It's just about, they want more fights. They're not bothered about the razzmatazz. And I think Brian's ethos is kind of the same. He wants the best fights, and he's not really bothered about the glitz and the glamour. Where we try to put the best UK fights with the glitz and the glamour. So when you guys were fighting, you're walking out, these pyrotechnics, these flames, these fireworks, he's trying to make you'll feel like a superstar. And your friends and family who've never been to that sort of event before, that have been to a horrible working men's club, are like, this is another level. I suppose it's like watching a pub band and going to MEN and watching, Beyonce, Jay-Z. It's day and night. That's what we try to sort of do.
Yeah.
Without like, obviously, I'm not just saying it because you're here, but we spoke to a lot of people and like they all seem to think that the main event shows were like the best like shows on the UK that there's been in terms of like the whole show like as a whole, the fights that we're getting put on, like even like people who aren't in the scene as such, like they're not fighters, but that was like a better spectacle for them. They enjoyed the show more because there was always stuff going on in between the fights.
We, I mean, I'm really grateful for that. The amount of people that I've asked. Pete Spencer did some interviews with me a bit ago, and I did some other videos with somebody else, and the amount of people that have like, please bring main event back, please, because at the moment you've only got one big show, which is Uk Muay Thai Grand Prix was like when Kieran was heavily involved, was very good when it was basically the O2. Now they're on Fight Pass. They've got to produce so many shows a year. The reason we never went to UFC Fight Pass is because the cost of our shows were that much, we couldn't give the content we needed to give to Fight Pass at the time.
Right.
So that's why you get Yogi will do a show and it'll become part of Muay Thai Grand Prix and all the rest of it. It's just sort of branded under it so they can provide content.
Right.
But if I had £1 for everybody who said please bring back the main event, I wouldn't have to go to work on Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought about it, we spoke about it. Me and Mark were talking about it the other day. Phil Shedden, who was sort of the extra side to it. Essentially, Rumble at the Reebok was my promotion.
Yeah.
I've worked with various people over the time, but the core infrastructure was me, Phil Shedden, Darren Phillips, and Kirsty Holloway and Gemma Cuff. And it was sort of the five of us. Yeah. I looked after the bits everybody sees. Phil took over the matchmaking. Darren looked after the admin and the bits in the background to do with the rules and the refs and make sure that bit was absolute was. And the girls took care of the financial side of it. Because to run a show at that size, I don't know what Brian's show costs to do, or any other big show costs to do, but our shows, certainly the last main event, you're 120, between 100 and 120,000 quid to put the show on. And people don't see that. People think, oh, look at him, he's coining it in. You know, all these people in here, I'll pay 30 quid. Yeah. But they don't see the stuff that it costs to put something like that on, the spectacle. You go into Bolton Arena, or anywhere that's not a dedicated exhibition space, and every knife and fork you're having to rent, every tablecloth, every chair you're having to pay for. And tiered seating, like we brought into Event City. Tiered seating is like, it's about 11 quid a head. So when people, you see these banks of tiered seating, what they do, they roll the back of a truck in and it all folds out. But that truck's like 30 grand, and you need 3 of them. So people don't see the other expense of it.
Does it make you proud though that kind of like those events have had like a lasting impact on people to the point where they still want them to see them today?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, we did things and achieved things that I never ever thought we would. And I never set out to do them things. They just kind of happened. And when you're doing it, it's like anything. When you're doing it, you don't sit back and go, wow, look at me, and pat yourself on the back. You're just doing it. And with every progression, there's always something in the background trying to pull you back down. You know, you'll always have a problem. You'll have a problem fight day. You'll have a problem weigh-in day. You'll have a problem getting tickets to people. Tickets will go missing. Fighters will pull out. Goldfish has got toothache. Mark, Event City at the first main event, because what we did Rumble at the Reebok 1-4, and then we outgrew the venue. The last Rumble at the Reebok, it was dangerously overcrowded. It's the only time we've ever had sort of brewing crowd trouble. It was ridiculous. You couldn't move in the place. But where Brian will have seats and standing, we had tables. We had VIP tables. People paying £2,000-3,000 a table of 10. And it got to the point where I can't do any more in this room. It's not big enough. And then we moved it to Event City. They just opened, so it was a complete fresh platform. So they partnered us with the show. We had the trailer running in the Orient at Trafford Centre on the big screen, which was never been done before. We were on Galaxy Radio, never been done before. But even shows with that magnitude and that prestige, 2 hours before doors, Mark Skid's opponent pulls out on me. The weight cut's killed him, he's emaciated, he's had to go to hospital. sometimes, you know, people will pull out the 11th hour and you think to yourself, this is a load of BS. I mean, it was Carl Ryan, and I hope he don't mind me saying that. I know Carl Ryan, he's a really stand-up guy. I knew he had a problem. It wasn't just he bottled it and didn't want to fight. We knew because of who the fighter was, you know, we must have a problem here. You know, and Mark sold a raft of tickets. We've got people coming from all over the place and they need to fulfill that fight. Fortunately, Frankie does what Frankie does best, and he stepped up to the mark with one of his lads. And yeah, I mean, the lad that Mark fought maybe wasn't exactly in the same calibre, but he took a fight at the 11th hour, and like all of Frank's lads, they turned up to fight. He turned up, and they had a whack off. I'm not sure if Mark stopped him in the end, but you know, it's a massive calibre show. So even at the 11th hour, stuff can still go wrong.
Do you sleep much when it comes to shows like that? I know Paul, off personal experience, he doesn't sleep much.
I'm quite glad that Kapowitz has done some promoting. I really am, because me and Paul have locked heads sometimes over promoting. And I remember thinking to himself once when we had a bit of an argument over, not an argument, we had a disagreement over the phone about the cost of stuff for the show. And then when somebody else goes and thinks, you know what, I can do that, and it don't cost that, and then all of a sudden they're like, shit. And I'm glad that other people see it. I mean, Paul's been really successful with the stuff he's done. You know, I'm dead proud of him. You know, from where he's come from, what he's achieved, and the people he's produced. You know, two technicals are, you know, superb at what they've done. But yeah, it's. Do you sleep much? Probably the last week of the show, you're not getting very much sleep. The run up to the show, our shows took 6 months to do. They weren't sort of scribbled on the back of a fag packet and we'll do it next Friday. They'd start life as a bit of an idea. We'd get a blueprint, and even down to the MC walking out. Tony Dean we used as the MC. He would walk out choreographed to music. So the music would start playing. At a certain point, he'd then appear. The screen would open. He'd walk forward and stop again. And when the track reached the right part, he could then get cued to walk in. The lighting would have to be cued. Everything takes time, and nothing's easy. And you can't do the same thing twice. So you're trawling the internet for music you can use. Now, when you're going out on a massive scale and you know your stuff's going to be broadcast, you've then got to be careful what music you use
royalties and stuff.
For royalties and licensing rights.
It's happening at the minute a bit with the Yak. I don't think they're using, when you come out, you can't have your own walkout.
Because it'd be getting broadcast on their TV channel, and if you're using, I don't know, you know, some rap tune or Bugsy Malone or something like that, they're going to turn around and go, well, hang on, you're using that, you're getting a revenue from this, I want my slice of the pie. And all of a sudden, you've got a problem on your hands. And it's a proper problem that's been well exercised in court. So it's not somebody on a whim trying to do something. That format to sue you is there, and they'll just come in, bang. But you got no defence because you haven't got the money to go and fight them guys. That's a record label. So you know, every bit of it is arduous and hard work.
What about in terms of like getting like brands to support it? You know,
sponsors.
Sponsors and stuff like that. Like, is that a hard job?
So
justifying obviously the money they're gonna put forward.
So on a local little show, just to digress a little, when Salford Thai moved from the building on the corner here into the mill up there, I partnered up with Paul O'Day. Paul still owns Salford Thai as a brand. He puts his own little shows on up there and all the rest of it. So if you're doing a small show in a little venue locally, Bob's Chippy's going to sponsor you, because Bob's Chippy might get a load of walk-ins after the show when people are walking past going home. When you're doing a multi-national show or something on a national level, Bob's Chippy's no good to me. I can't go to Bob and say, give me 500 quid, because nobody's going to go anywhere near Bob's Chipper. It's just a name on a piece of paper, nobody cares. So you need big brands. We had Jakarta. Sandy sponsored me, but Sandy sponsored me from the grassroots. And when I very first started my gym, Sandy, which is a big Thai brand, owned by an English guy from Stockport who now lives in Thailand. They stepped up to the mark. They sponsored us all the way through. You know,
I always wondered what the connection was with them.
People have said in the past, that I must own Sandy, or Fight Shop when Fight Shop existed.
I thought you might have to. I didn't know.
Just really grateful to Paul Hickman and two guys that started Fight Shop, the Crowther brothers, Adam and Simon. That they wanted to get involved. They saw that the vision I had. They were heavily involved with stuff with the UFC Europe at the time.
Yeah.
And they believed in what we were doing, and they got involved, and they stayed involved. All my fighters were sponsored. Mark, Dayton, Cassie, anybody who fought from my gym wouldn't wear any gloves other than Sandy. Right. We went to shows that were sponsored by Top King.
Right.
And I had a standoff with Simon Audley, who's now he had a gym called Sapphire at the time. He's now the striking coach for Next Gen. Right. Paddy Pimlet and Chris Fishgold and Little Meatballs in the UFC. He's their striking coach. And we got to the show and Si's like, here's your gloves, I'm not wearing them. Well, what do you mean? I wasn't being a prima donna. I was being sponsored by somebody, and that relationship was more to me than my guys going fighting Top King. Yeah. And my lads, it was a Top King sponsored show, but we fought in Sunday.
Did he let you off of it?
Yeah, no choice. It was like that. We didn't fight.
Right.
Yeah. And I told him when I matched the fight, I didn't turn up being a prima donna.
Yeah.
You know, I actually made it very clear that we've got to wear our own gloves. Or you provide Sandy gloves and we'll wear them. Yeah. But we're not fighting in Top King.
So what's your view on that then? If you've got a show on the shows, obviously you want everyone to wear Sandy, and someone comes and says, I'm a Yoko athlete or I'm sponsored by Top King.
So we did have a bit of that towards the end. Fabio Pinker being one of them.
Yeah.
When he fought Reece McAllister.
Top fighter.
Yeah. Oh, he's one of the best in the world, isn't he? He couldn't wear our shorts.
Right.
But when we contracted it, they came back and said, look, we've got these objections. So we knew months in advance what was going to happen. There's a difference between somebody being sponsored by a brand contractually, that they have to represent that brand, and to a difference to somebody just being an absolute arse and saying, nah, I'm wearing my own stuff.
Yeah.
So as long as you know in advance what you're dealing with, you can structure around it. And we did. I mean, Liam is sponsored by Yokal. The Banco Gym's sponsored by Yokal. Liam, when he fought at the main event, straight to the point, you know, I spoke to Richard, spoke to Liam. I knew they're sponsored by the guys, but they knew the commitment they had to make to us. They're being paid properly. Yeah. Liam fought in Sandy. You know, it wasn't us putting two fingers up to another brand. Yeah. It was just, that's our format. But we knew months in advance. The same way when my guys fought on Simon Audley's show back in the day, he knew weeks in advance that we were going to turn up with our own gloves. And the Top King importer at the time, he was there. I mean, he wasn't best happy about it, but that's between him and his promoter. Yeah. That had nothing to do with us. You know, we weren't trying to be awkward. We were just trying to, you know, do what we were contractually obliged to do. Yeah.
You talked before about how putting on a show can cost up to like 120 grand. One thing from talking with fighters such as like Paul, and we talked with Fingy Sugden, Chad Sugden, and they've both said that like they've had like their best pays or some of like their best purses like fighting on your shows. Is that like a conscious thing that you wanted to do to make sure that fighters get paid well?
The very first show we did, Rumble at the Reebok, I matched this. I had this concept that we were going to do what nobody had done before. So it was 15 fights, all A class. There was no C, no N, no B. Every fight was 5 3s, 4 rules. Never ever been done before. It's never been done since, I don't think. And people are like, that's never going to happen. The opening fight of the night, so the first fight, which would normally be an N class or a C class on any other show, was James Badger France versus Craig Jose. Right. Now that headlines any show. And that was the opening fight. Mad. So what I was approaching trainers and saying, look, I'm going to do this show. I've never done one before. So people are skeptical straight away thinking, oh, here we go. Yeah. You know, I know this guy's got a little gym, but he's going to put this show. Nobody believed it was going to happen. And I mean, nobody believed it was going to happen. Yeah. I wanted Liam. Richard would have given me. He didn't think the show was going to go ahead. He gave me Badger. Okay. And I was like going to people and saying, what do you want for your guy? Oh, it's got to be 600 quid. I said, I'll give him £1,000. And they were like, well, yeah, to bite your hand off. Yeah. But to me, it was about showing people the value of where it was at. Yeah. I remember I was walking across the traffic lights down there from where we sat. I was on the phone to Frankie, and I wanted Steve Jones. I had Rick, I wanted Steve. And I wanted Steve Jones to fight Chris Shaw. And he's underhard. And I mean, if you know Frankie well, you get a straight answer out of Frankie, but he has to go away and engage his brain for 10 minutes before he'll give you the straight answer. And he's like, oh, well, you know, and it'll have to be 400 quid, so I'll give you 8. What? So I'll give you 800 quid. Really? Yeah, I'll give you 800 quid. And if he wins, he'll get a win bonus. Yeah. You know, we needed to guarantee that at the weigh-in they were going to turn up,
Yeah.
and on the Saturday they were going to turn up and fight.
Yeah.
If I'm offering you 150 quid and X Factor's on TV, well, I might go and watch X Factor.
Yeah.
When you're being paid properly,
Got that incentive
and back,
in there.
back then, that was big money.
Yeah.
That was big money. It was like people would bite your hand off and they would turn you up. I mean, not to go through average purses, but some of the guys got the biggest purse that they'd ever had fighting on my promotions. I know before Charlie and Liam,
Yeah.
we'd offered the biggest purse in the UK ever.
Right.
So
I was going to ask you what's like, one of my questions was like, what's the most that you've paid someone to fight on one of your shows?
the most we've offered to pay, or the most we've actually paid.
No, both.
The most we've offered to pay is £10,000. I think the most we've ever actually paid out, because the fight didn't happen, was £9,100, which was €10,000.
Who was that for?
Tinker.
I thought it might have been, yeah. Who would have been the fight that would have happened if it took place?
Liam and Greg Watt.
Yeah.
So
How do you justify them purses for them fighters? So how would I always? We're both quite intrigued to say.
So I suppose it's perceived value.
Nowadays we've got followers, we've got Instagram, we've got ticket sellers, we've got guys who are flamboyant.
It's perceived value. If I put a show on with 15 guys that from Newcastle that you two have never have heard of, you're not going to drive to Newcastle to watch that show.
Yeah.
If I then stick Liam Harrison on that show, fighting somebody domestic that it might get tasty with. If I said to you, I can put Liam Harrison and Paul Kapowitz in a ring in Aberdeen.
Yeah,
You go in your car and you drive to it.
Yeah.
That's perceived value.
Yeah.
So somebody like Liam, 100 plus fights, multi-times world champion. You know, Liam's not a paper world champion. You know, Greg wasn't a paper opponent. They both earned the stripes.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the best the UK's ever produced to a very formidable up and comer. Completely different styles.
Yeah.
Liam bites his gum shield down so he kicks it out, swings hands, kicks legs off, and we know he's immensely powerful, super sharp and clinical with his shots. Greg Wotton, polar opposite, 6'1",
Very tall,
very long, very awkward, as Paul Kapowitz found out when he fought him.
Yeah.
Just can't get near him. Doesn't want to kick your leg up, wants to get you around the neck, clinch the life out of you.
Yeah.
Liam can clinch,
Yeah.
but it's a massive clash of styles.
Why did that never happen, that fight?
Liam had a problem during his weight cut. He was emaciated during his weight cut. He ended up in hospital, and the fight just fell apart on the weigh-in day.
Right.
Sort of 20 minutes into weighing, I got a phone call from Richard, and I fought with Liam, lay in bed, IV'd. You know, at the end of the day, fighters say to paramount, and he was being, you know, he was getting paid a hell of a lot of money, which I'm pretty sure he wanted.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like I was saying it's a five, and he's like, I'm not asked. You know, 10 grand's 10 grand.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it happens. You know, it's just one of them things. There's been people that have weighed in at shows and died because they've got the weight cut wrong. I mean, the whole thing with weight cutting is a bit of an issue at the moment.
Yeah.
And, you know, the UFC are trying to address that.
I've seen that girl at UFC. See the video when she got on the scales and then dropped, fainted a couple of minutes later.
Because the thing is, the money they're being paid, if they don't make weight, they lose half of it instantly.
Right. I didn't know that.
And if the fight doesn't go ahead, they don't get paid full stop. So if me and you are fighting and I don't make weight, as long as you turn up and weigh in, you're going to get your purse. Regardless, you've done your bit. If I get on the scale and I'm over, you've got two choices. You're going to take the fight and you get percentage of my purse, or you don't take the fight, you still get paid. I don't get a bean.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about an MMA camp where you've had to bring external sparring partners, coaches in, you've got bills to pay.
Yeah.
So, you know,
sponsors are expecting you to fight. And
it's a big deal, and you're talking about big numbers.
A lot of pressure, isn't there?
A lot of pressure, and you know, ultimately it's up to the head coach to make sure that that's going right. Most UFC guys, because they're earning enough money, they'll have their own nutritional guy. They'll have their own guy who does the weight cut. Yeah. You know, I mean, I've done weight cuts. I've done that many weight cuts with Mike Bisping. It's untrue. I know how to get weight out of somebody safely. But to get weight out of somebody safely, the starting weight is down to your athlete. Yeah. So if you're fighting at 61.5, and 3 days before you're still 74 kilos,
you're in trouble.
I'll get you to 61.5, but you're going to look like a skeleton afterwards.
Yeah.
And are you going to recover in time? Andy Thrasher fought Frankie at Rumble at the Reebok 3.
Okay.
And we salt bathed him some more. He got the scales, he wasn't right, he got back into salt bath. And we carried him from the hotel room, and I mean carried him under each arm onto the scales.
Depleted that much.
Yeah, he got on the scales, he made weight, he got off. I'll never forget, there's a pillow in the Line in Vienna suite, and he sat down, leant against it with a towel around him. He looked like Skeletor of the He-Man cartoon, just drinking cups of tea, and he must have been there for 40 minutes before he could actually get up and walk back to his room.
Jesus.
And we weren't sure that he was going to, be all right the day after. He passed the pre-fight medical. We used the same medical team as the UFC. Mark Banks, doctor from Liverpool A&E, Tom Quinn and his medical team. These are the same guys that do the UFC.
Right, okay.
So we have a proper medical team. We didn't go and get St. John's ambulance or somebody who can't take blood pressure. He was fine. He came in daft and he stopped Frankie.
Right.
He dropped him on his head, on the back of his neck. It was, you watch it, it goes through. You even watch the way he falls. I mean, you go fight up to that point. Yeah. But he came back from it. Some people don't.
What was he like on the day? Did he seem back to normal? Or?
He was absolutely fine, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was absolutely fine.
What's the most you've seen someone cut weight, or off the top of your head?
Drop 10.
10?
Yeah, drop 10. Now, if you're...
Is that the day before?
Yeah. So,
wow.
The thing is, you can drop 10 if you're a big lump. So if you're fighting at 90 or 85 kilos, you can drop 10 because your body mass allows it.
Yeah.
But if your size,
mate, if I dropped 10, I'd be dead.
But the thing is, 10 kilos will be like almost. I'm guessing you're somewhere around 50 odd.
Yeah.
So that's 20% of your body weight. You can't do it, you die.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's all relevant to body mass index.
Yeah.
People can drop mass weight, but it's got to be relative.
Yeah.
And ideally, if you water load, the weight should be basically artificial.
Yeah.
So it's reverse osmosis, the whole salt bath thing.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a science.
Yeah.
But if you get it right, it's fine. Your guy will make weight. They'll go and have a couple of Nando's, a load of electrolytes, and the day after, there'll be a more natural weight.
Yeah.
What the UFC's done to stop this?
There's no IVs, is there, in the UFC?
No, because they detect the plasticize.
Right.
So unless the IV from a glass bottle,
right, okay,
which some won't name Brazilians still do.
Yeah.
And if they get caught, USADA will ban them for 6 months. They detect the plasticize in the blood.
Right.
But basically, what the UFC are doing now to try and stop this mass weight cutting, because people are dying.
Yeah.
You weigh in. You used to weigh in at the weigh-in show live.
Yeah.
So O2 or Vegas or wherever you were in the world. So your fighter had to get up in the morning and wait till 3 o'clock, dying, emaciated, couldn't even brush your teeth. So what they do now, they weigh you in at 8 o'clock in the morning.
And then you do like a show
and
one
then
afterwards.
they do a ceremonial weigh-in later on for the public, which is far safer. But then they'll re-weigh you the day of the fight.
Right.
They'll re-weigh you in the morning, and they'll re-weigh you when you get to the venue.
Right.
So if you weighed in at 185 pounds, which is middleweight, which Darren Till is now what Bisping was the world champion at, and then you get on them scales and you're 206, they know that you've water loaded and you probably IV back up. And straight away after the fight, you're going for a blood test.
Right.
USADA will get you pee in a pot and they'll do a blood test just to make sure if there's any plasticizing in your blood. Because you can't physically reinflate that quickly.
Yeah.
It's impossible without IVing. If you've ever had an IV, if you cut weight and you feel awful, you IV back up afterwards. You'll feel like you've never cut weight before. You'll feel like you've not done anything. Your face comes out first. I used to help people with IVs.
Yeah.
I'll be careful how I word that. Yeah. I used to help people with IVs all the time. The Sugden boys.
Yeah.
Darren O'Connor.
In Muay Thai, there's no.
I've done Keith.
Yeah.
I've helped plenty of people with IVs, and you watch somebody sit there that looks like they've just been dug up, and the face will come out first.
The cheekbones and everything.
Then the arms will fill back up.
Yeah.
And then you leave the room like I've not even done anything.
Yeah.
It puts all the fluid back into your vital organs.
Yeah.
And it's great, but it's also to get to the weight you need to be at first is really dangerous.
Yeah.
When Dayton fought Simon Chew at the MEN, when MSA did Manchester Arena, Simon had to be carried from the scales.
So I just wanted to go back to something you said before about kind of the cost of shows, and I'm not to really compare like your events with like the current yak hours, but you were saying that like the money then, it was like what you were paying people was a lot back then, but the average A-class fight is still getting like £400 or £500, so it's still a lot now, to be honest. Like say Paul, for instance, I can't remember what he said. He said like 2 or 3 grand or something he's got on your shows, and he still gets around that now on Yakao. So like that is not changed in all that time.
So promoting's a business. You've got to make money. So let's say I have Paul, and he wants 3,000 quid. We're just using this as general. So for that 3 grand, he's got to sell enough tickets to cover his purse.
Yeah.
Now, because there's nobody in the UK at the moment to fight Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be a few up and comers, but whether he sees them worthy is that he could fight him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this about Paul, I'm just using this generally.
Yeah.
So let's say we have to bring in Sergio Wheelsley.
Yeah.
Argument sake.
Yeah.
He's not going to sell me 1 ticket.
Yeah.
He's going to cost me a flight, 2 hotel rooms for a weekend, depending on how close he is with his trainer.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get him to share, but some of these guys won't.
Right.
Especially, guys with like Muslim backgrounds and all that, they won't share with anybody, they want their own room and all the rest of it. That's just their culture.
Right.
However they do it. So you've got 2 flights, 2 hotel rooms. You bring them in Thursday night, Friday morning, you've got to send them home Sunday or Monday. So let's say you've got hotel rooms for 4 days for 2 guys. You've got to feed them in that time. And you can't just say, here's a quid, go and get some chips.
Also, you're giving them expenses as well.
Yeah, they have to have expenses. Right. You've got to get them to and from the airport.
Yeah.
Now, after you put on a massive show, I ain't driving to the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning with no fighter taking them home. So I've got to pay someone to do that job.
Yeah.
Or get them a cab.
Yeah.
What is it, 30 quid?
Yeah.
To Manchester Airport. If you live in the back end of beyond of nowhere, they'll want expenses to get from their house to the airport.
Yeah.
And they will, and they're rightly entitled to it.
Yeah.
So, and then you've got to pay the guy's person. So if your guy's 3 grand, and you get this guy, let's say, for 2.5 grand, but you've got £1,000 in incidental expenses, I've now got a £6,500 fight.
Yeah. Basically, Paul's got to pay his purse as well then.
I've got to pay his purse, but I've got to sell enough tickets that fight covers itself, or as near as damn it covers itself.
Yeah.
Or you've got to ask yourself the opposite question. Maybe that he won't sell enough tickets to cover this.
Yeah.
But would that fight make the difference for Johnny to get off his couch and go and watch because that's a good fight?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you need to have the perceived value of that fight. That's got to be worthy enough for somebody else to get off the backside and think, well, I'll go to that event. Ordinarily, I wouldn't do because I wouldn't mind watching that.
Yeah.
So it's the whole thing's a balancing act. On the flip side, you'll have somebody who'll come and fight and he'll sell 200 tickets.
Yeah.
But he'll cost you nothing.
Yeah.
So then you have to scale that against the stuff that isn't costing you a return. We all know Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate fought for me. Multi-time world champion, kickboxing and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Loves the sound of his own voice on the internet.
Yeah.
Great fighter.
Yeah.
Came to fight on main event. Worked a fortune as the purse. We were told he'd sell X, Y, or Z in tickets.
Wow.
That was it. 4 tickets. Sold 4 tickets.
Yeah.
He cost me an arm and a leg. And there was never ever enough external interest in that one fight to cover that fight.
Right.
So what do you do in that instance?
You lose money.
Right.
If Chris Whittle, Liam, Neve, Jack Kennedy, all Yokow regulars, they'll have the hardcore of people that'll come and watch every fight.
Yeah.
On their first fight, everybody came to watch. They all got support.
Yeah,
You're on this massive stage. If you were fighting on Yokow tomorrow, you'd sell 20 times the amount of tickets that you would ordinarily sell.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a massive show and you're fighting on Yokow. Wow. Let's say you fight Craig Coker, massive opponent. It's worth a watch. I'd pay and watch that.
Yeah.
Good fight, massive clash of styles. This is going to be a whack off. It's not going to be some snooze fest in the corner.
Yeah.
I'd pay and watch it. But after you've done that 8 or 9 times, the people who ordinarily wouldn't come won't be coming.
Yeah.
Because they've seen it. That's great, yeah. Has he won again? They're not coming.
Yeah.
So you're hardcore, your mum, your dad, the dog, your girlfriend,
Yeah.
the goldfish, they'll always come.
Yeah, coming.
But the rest of them aren't. because they've seen it that many times. My bird wants to go San Carlo. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I've got one to take here for a meal. Sorry, good luck.
That's exactly how it is.
It's exactly how it is. So you've got to be careful who you know when you're promoting. You can't use the same guys time and time again. I used to use my own guys time and time again because they're my guys.
Yeah.
Keep 'em active.
So if I get an incidental loss with my guys,
Yeah.
that's because I put them on and I just want to get them out there
Yeah,
fighting.
yeah.
I mean, the Salford Thai days, when Dayton fought Simon Chew at the MEM,
Right.
we did 170 tickets. You know, it was huge.
A lot.
And the deal we had was I went £10 across the board for every ticket
Yeah.
because we'd hit so many tickets. I did a deal with Paul once, sell 100 tickets, get £10 across the board. I think he'd sold 91. So it's in
Right.
Paul's interest to buy the other 9 tickets
Yeah.
because he gets a tenner right across the board.
Yeah.
So he's making, you know, that's it's the whole thing is a gamble. So when
Yeah.
you're putting your card together, if you've got a couple of fights that are really interesting but they've got no mates or people are that bored of
Yeah.
watching the same people, you're not winning.
Yeah.
I don't get promoters, and there's promoters who do this, that'll bring Dave from Aberdeen and Johnny from Penzance to fight in Manchester.
Yeah.
Well, they're bringing maybe a minibus each.
Yeah.
Well, that's all they're bringing. Yet they're paid an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Or they'll bring John from Aberdeen and Juan from Portugal.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're just losing money all around on that one.
Yeah.
For what?
Speaking of Penzance, like we had Lucy Payne on like one of the last times we spoke, or did a podcast, and she said that like obviously she's coming from down there to a Yakao show in Bolton, and she was kind of saying, I don't think it's fair that you should be expected to sell tickets. If they want you there, they should have you on the show. Do you know what I mean? Like,
So,
can you see it from that point of view?
No. The sport's not big enough to see it from that point of view.
Right.
It's not. I'm sorry. That I'm a professional fighter and you should be grateful I'm there doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You've got the exception to the rule, and that exception I can count on one hand. Liam, Jordan,
Haggett, maybe.
possibly Haggett, the Wakeling brothers when they were around,
Yeah.
and I can't think of anybody else.
Right.
Maybe Reese,
Yeah.
maybe, but that is it.
Right.
I brought Lucy up here. Lucy fought Cassie Robinson,
Okay.
and I wanted to fight.
Yeah.
Lucy didn't sell a ticket.
Right.
There might have been 4 people in the audience cheering for her, but Lucy didn't sell a ticket. Cassie sold about 300 because she lived around the corner and
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know it was our show. But I didn't do it for ticket sales. I did that because I
To
wanted
make
to
the
fight.
fight happen. Yeah.
Going back to where we were a minute ago, weight cutting. Cassie had the worst weight cut known to man, and it was unfortunately the female cycle didn't line up with what we were doing. She was holding water, we couldn't get it off her. We had to sauna her in the end, salt bath wasn't working. Saunaing's really dangerous because it's indiscriminate where it takes the fluid from.
Right.
She spent all night being sick. Day of the fight, we were warming up. I remember Mark being there because Mark was helping me in the background, dating on Cassie and a couple of others. I remember kicking a pad, and I remember looking at Mark saying she's flat and there's no power and she can bang, she can really bang. She gets in with Lucy. Lucy's, you met Lucy, she's massive.
Yeah.
Cassie's like 5'7". Cassie hits her with left hook, right hand, body kick, grabs her, throws her on the floor, and I thought, belting. We're on here. 5-6 seconds before the end of the round 1, Lucy gets her in a clinch, knees her right under the chin. She takes a standing 8 count. Sean Boland gives her the count, he sits down in the corner. And one eye's still spinning, this one says jackpot. And I couldn't clear her head.
Yeah.
And this is because the weight cut was so bad. I couldn't
Yeah.
clear her head. It was terrible. And I let her go back out round 2. I should have stopped her on the stool. This is my own naivety.
Yeah.
She goes out. She throws a few shots. She misses. She throws a left kick. She gets caught. She gets kneed in yet again. And actually caught her as she's going down unconscious. And it's like the weight cut cost me the fight.
Yeah.
Whether she would have beat her on any given day,
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought she would. That's why we wanted the fight.
Yeah.
Lucy was number 1. We were number 2. We had been for ages. We wanted the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
We had the British title, but we wanted the number 1 spot.
Right.
So that was the only reason we forced the fight on. And probably my own naivety and ego as a trainer, because I wanted my guys at number 1, and we had some of the number 1 spots.
Yeah.
I wanted to fill them divisions with Salford Thai.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, from that point of view, I didn't expect to do anything, but I didn't care.
Right.
From a promoting point of view, it was terrible. But Cassie paid for the Lucy fight
Yeah.
because she sold enough tickets
Yeah.
and doesn't fight every week, so people flood to watch.
So, like, if you was an A-class fighter now, would you fight on a show for 500?
Depends where you are in your career. So, how many fights have you had now?
I've had 9 fights, 5 A-class.
So, the ethos now has kind of changed a little bit, and I'll flip this round. Back in the day, you'd have 4 or 5 C, 4 or 5 B, and then probably fight 9 to 12. You'd probably enter into early A class, and you'd expect to get about 500 quid for A class. If you've had 5, 6, 7 A class, and you're winning, and because fights make styles, obviously we fought you, we lost you, we fought you earlier on in your career. If you're an exciting fighter and you're knocking people out and you're spinning elbows and you've got the everyman on the edge of the seat and you're not tapping your front leg and it's a snooze fest for 5 rounds, you're going to command more money because people want to watch you fight. They're going to look at that fight card. Oh, look who's fighting this weekend. Oh, that Anton Austin's fighting. He's fighting this kid. Wow. That's a fight. He's fighting Tommy McCormack. Wow, what a fight.
Don't want it, Tommy.
Probably not, but
No, I like
if you look at Clash of Styles, you're going to have a war on your hands. But you're not going to do that for £500.
No.
If I said to you tomorrow, I'm going to put a show on next month, I want you to fight on it, I want you to fight Craig Coakley, and here's 500 quid, you're going to tell me to off. Because it's a hard fight, you're going to have to train harder, you're in the gym more, and even outside your classes, you're going to be knocking on Paul's door saying, mate, I need some one-to-one time. Somebody's got to pay for that one-to-one time.
Definitely.
And your ticket deal ain't going to cut it. So you're going to be, for something like that, a grand 1,500 quid. And any promoter worth the salt's going to go, you know what, if I want that, I'm going to have to pay for it. 500 quid was always the entry level for A-class. There's other promoters out there, and there still is now, that'll give you 250, 300 quid for an A-class fight. And that's the stupidity of, firstly, the trainer, secondly, the fighter for doing it. Getting elbowed in the face. The love of the sport's fantastic, but scars stay forever. You know, and getting wigged in front of all your friends and family and coming out looking like you've had a fight with Edward Scissorhands isn't. Risk equals reward. If you back right up, early 2000s, people were taking A-class fights for a couple hundred quid, and the sport was still very infantile. But you're having the same fight over 5 threes that a UFC guy is having over 3 fights. Okay? But he's getting paid thousands. And his level's probably not even close to yours. Now, don't get me wrong, you might have a massive jiu-jitsu skill set or something else. But you've got to sort of look back now and think, I'm doing what he's doing. And I've sold a load of tickets. If you sell me 100 tickets and I'm only paying you 500 quid and giving you a 5 ticket commission, you need your head tested. If you've got a guy as a trainer that can sell you 100 tickets, scare, date him. So then, 100 tickets at 30 quid a pop, right? So I've now got my pot of cash. Now, but I don't want to give you all that money. I want 50% of that for my fighter as his purse, plus his fiver. So you're getting £1,000 and we're keeping 2,000 quid of it. Is my guy worth that? He's worth that alone on ticket sales. So if you want that £1,000 profit in the fight square, that's what I want.
Right.
And that's kind of, it's down to the trainer, and more so down to the fighter to know your own worth. Don't get me wrong. If you're, and I'll say this with all the respect in the word, if you're Luke Vaughan, who used to fight for me, who used to fight for Mark, and you asked me for 500 quid, you'd have to pay me 500 quid to go to the show to watch it. Because it's dreadful. It's dreadful. That's no disrespect to Luke. He's not a Thai boxer. He's tried his best. He's won some fights. He's off doing pro boxing now. Good luck to the lad. But, and I don't mean to slag anybody off. I'm just trying to be dead real. But it's the values in the person.
So what's your views again on like rankings and stuff like that? Because you're talking about fighters who are coming and they're exciting, they're landing knockouts, they're selling tickets and whatnot. But then, for example, you've got someone on the flip side who may be the number 2 in the UK, but he's boring as hell.
But
it's a fight.
He must have got to be number 2 by beating all
He's
the
a
guys
foot
below him.
tapper.
Doesn't matter. Because that's what the Muay Thai rankings are based on. If I can foot tap and smother you for 5 rounds and just hold you in the clinch, land a few body knees, twist you, make you lose position, score them, and ultimately get the hand raised at the end of the fight, I'm beating you.
Are you going to sell tickets off that kind of?
No, probably not. But I'm beating you. So rankings versus fights is kind of like it's kind of like it's like I'm the Premier League that doesn't exist in it. Yeah. So for a long time, I was heavily hooked on the rankings. I wanted them number 1 spots. He's in the rankings, he's above us, we're having it. Yeah. So anybody that was above Dayton in the rankings, I thought, anybody. And we actively got down there. Yeah. Same with Mark.
That's your own ego as a coach wanting Salford.
I wanted that. And that you know. But rankings versus actual, from a promoting point of view, unless it's number 1 and number 2. And it's worth doing. It's fine. If they're a foot tapper but they're winning, well, good luck to them because they must be doing something right to win. Yeah, it might not be the most exciting fight.
Well, then on the flip side, then as a promoter, and you've just got this fight on, and you know you paid them certain amounts of money in the foot tapper. You must have had fights yourself that you've been disappointed and thought, flipping heck, I spent the money on them 2, and it's a shocking.
Oh, I've had loads of anticlimaxes. Loads. Yeah. There's loads of fights out there where
been disappointed and sat there and thought.
But that's in anything. There's loads of fights out there that are the same. How many times have you watched the UFC and thought, wow, I've stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning. I want to watch this, it's going to be fantastic. And I'm like, what was that all about? That, worst fight known to man. Just cancel each other out. Snooze fest. Terrible.
Most of Tyron Woodley's fights are like that, isn't it?
You say that, then he knocked Till out. Well, he did knock Till out. He dropped Till, then submitted him. He was on the, it's... you got to remember, from a fight's point of view, you're not interested what I think. No. You're interested in this. That's it. It doesn't matter how you get there as long as your hands get raised at the end. Yeah. Whether you'll get there again, because people won't want you if you're boring. Yeah. People won't want it if it's a snooze fest. Nobody wants a clinical, beautiful toe tapper these days. Yeah. The whole Muay Thai scene it's not what it was. Back up 15 years, and you were watching this room to see me now. We all would have bowed to one another, then shook hands, and that's what it was. You turned up at a weigh-in and how you doing and all the rest of it. Yes sir, no sir to Master Scan and all the rest of it. Changed. And there's a level of respect still there. We know people like Master Scan and people like that. But you rock up at any MMA venue ever, and the martial arts respect part of it. That was left in your glove box of the car because that's where it is. It doesn't exist. You're there for a fight. You've got a guy who's going to fight another guy that's skillfully, heavily trained to hurt somebody. It's the hurt business. But that's what it is. It's the hurt business. All the respect has gone. Afterwards they may whatever. But it's a small percentage now that still maintain that. I mean, tell me if different. When you get to 2 tech and Paul starts class, do you line up and bow?
Yeah.
Do you do it at the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're probably in.
Not all the time, obviously. When we're like, we're first seeing each other outside and stuff.
But when you start the class,
we have to stand there. Yeah.
So you're probably in a 5% that do that.
Yeah.
I come from 1986 when I first started Muay Thai I worked in the only martial arts shop in Manchester for years, where people would come in and you were Thai boxing, they were bowing to you, no matter what martial art they did, because they knew you were a Muay Thai fighter. I used to work with Pete Feely, the infamous rapist, but he was a British champion at the time. He was a somebody. Everybody used to give him loads of respect. Now, it's just, "Hey mate, how you doing?" Not to Pete Feely, obviously, but with everybody else, that's kind of it's kind of dropped off. And the resurgence of MMA's kind of done that as well.
What do you think about all like the trash talk and stuff like that? Do you think Muay Thai needs more interviews, more?
The problem is
stuff like this podcast.
The problem is we're a tiny little island, aren't we? So we've tried in the past to get people to have a pop at one another. Because it sells. And I remember doing an interview with somebody regarding Ski. What's he called from Majestic? Little muscle bound. Can't think of his name. One of Kev Harper's fighters.
Right.
And he was fighting someone from Leeds. And in the interview, I heard them all sort of trying to get him to stir it a little bit. Yeah. And he went there, I'm a martial artist, he's a steadhead. And it really got under his skin.
Right.
And he started to heat up a little bit, but it lasted about 2 seconds. the bad blood element doesn't suffice. Go to California. You go down Beach Boulevard in California, in Huntington Beach, and you've got HBUTC, and across the road you've got whatever that gym's called, what Vandalay Silver owns. Right. And literally they'll get out of the cars in the car park, because they're all training at the same time, and they're hurling what you're saying. Right. They're gesturing at each other, and it's practically there to go off. You don't. This proper dislike. Yeah. Where in this country, you might not like a guy, but you're not getting on the internet going every night to him. Yeah. You know, it's very little of it. We had it with what's Lucy Payne's boyfriend called? K1 fighter.
Yeah. Name.
Nathan Epps.
Yeah, that's it.
So we had Nathan Epps fighting Chad Sugden.
Right.
And
main event, yeah.
And there was a fair amount of not bad blood, but distilled between them. I mean, you met Dean Sugden. Yeah. Dean don't like you.
Top guy, Dean.
Great, absolutely fantastic family. But Dean don't like you. Yeah. And that was getting a bit lively. And that was getting a bit lively on Facebook, which is great, and we're trying to share it all. It's fantastic. But without that proper disdain, you won't get it. Yeah. Now, if you go to Liverpool and look at the MMA scene in Liverpool, there's plenty of it there. All proper.
Even between like Paddy Pimblett and say Brendan Lockman or something.
But you got to remember, right? Paddy the Badder. Paddy's great jiu-jitsu guy, but made an absolute living out of talking shit about everybody. Yeah, he has. When Till fought in the UFC, he made some stupid comment about I sell more tickets in an afternoon than people are going to come and watch you. Yeah. And then all of a sudden was at the weigh-in and Till stood next to him and didn't say boo to a goose. You know, Paddy's Paddy. He's the world champion of gobshotting. Yeah. Very good martial artist. Yeah. But that's what he does. I mean, the gym I teach at Liverpool, Aspire. Right. There's been a proper thing between all them, but it gets out of hand. Right. It does get out of hand. They're saying that members of that fight team are wrong ones, you know. They're this, they're that. They're calling you names that you should never call another person unless you've got some, you know. Yeah. And then they're taking objection to somebody turning up and giving somebody else a smack. But then it's how far does that go? Yeah. That's not trash talking. That's really personal. Yeah. You know, I think the trash talking thing started a long time ago. Bisping was always a badder. Chael Sonnen was always a gobshite. Koscheck in the UFC. They always had a lot to say about everybody. Yeah. Then Conor came along and just took it up. Yeah. Didn't take it up another level. He took it up 20 levels. Yeah. You know, he's world class at making people look stupid. But people pay to watch it. Yeah. That's why he's as big as he is.
One last thing I wanted to ask you before I wanted to touch on the UFC in a minute as well, but one thing I wanted to ask you about Muay Thai before we move on is obviously you've been around the scene for a long time. When you're promoting shows, over the years, I would imagine you've come across people who you kind of don't like or you don't get along with. When you're promoting a show, how do you kind of navigate that? Do you still work with them, or is that, well, if you don't like him, you can fuck off?
It depends why I don't like him to start with. You know, if somebody's an absolute tool for the sake of being a tool, well, you're never going to work with them, are you? Yeah. But if they're a tool but they can be professional enough to actually have a business transaction with, because that's what it is, it's a business transaction. Me and you might not see eye to eye. You might be a dirty red, I'm a bit of blue. Yeah. You know,
nothing bitter about us, blues. What do you mean?
And you know, I might be. We might have some proper hostility on some football forum, and you're the biggest tithead in the planet. He is a red, by the way. Yeah, well, I can tell. Just for the camera. You know, but when it comes down to doing this, we can put our differences aside, and there's this. It is what it is. When I was a child, Pete Feely battered me.
Right.
He battered me. He took me into the gym at work and he gave me a good idea. He really did. I was 14 years old. He left me a snotty mess in the corner crying. He battered me. He was a 20-odd-year-old man and he gave me a good idea. For no reason. Right. And Oliver Harrison came in, who trained me and dragged Pete Feely over the counter in the shop that I worked at. I've never ever forgiven Pete Feely for that. Why would I? He's mentally scarred me. It stays in the back of my head like it happened yesterday. Yeah, I still work with him. I wouldn't go and have a brew with him. I had no relish to talk to the man. But I rang him up and I said, I need John Dennis to fight Paul. This is what I'm prepared to pay. We'll take the fight. Here's your tickets. Right. That's it. It's a business transaction.
Yeah. Right. But you could be stubborn, couldn't you? On the other hand,
but by being stubborn, probably cost you in the pocket. Depends on what the thing is. You know, if you're talking about being Wayne Bridge and John Terry, and his car's been parked outside my house for a bit, well then you're probably not going to come work on my show, are you? The boys are coming around and you're going for we're going to have a little chat. Yeah, it's different. Yeah. But you know, there's plenty of people in this sport that don't like me. There's a lot of people that don't like me in this sport. And I've no issue with it.
That's what it is, isn't it?
You know, I had a spell in Her Majesty's custody. For something I had nothing to do with, but I did. Everybody knows about it. Everybody knows I've got a checker past. Okay. And when that happened, before Facebook, we used to have Kickboxing, which was a forum that everybody communicated on. Okay. And there was a thread about me. Right. And on this thread, people that I spoke to and I thought were all right were absolutely slating me, saying that I was a drug dealer, saying I was this, that. It had nothing to do with drugs, the thing. It had nothing to do with anything like that. It was a financial thing. Saying, oh, now we know how Rumble at the Reebok was paid for. It was absolute bollocks. Yeah. And then you've got the other 50% of people saying, you lot talking shit, I mean, Mark Wilson of Kirby Thai actually wrote, all you shitbags wouldn't say this to his face. I had screenshots, people had screenshotted it, and they're showing me. I had people like the Wakelin's father, Mark. Mark Wakelin is inherently hard to get on with. Yeah. He's got a very powerful demeanour, and he's involved with some real undesirables from his security company. Right. Mark Wakelin's gone there. He's always treated me fair. He's always looked after my lads. I'm sure he'll come out, and if anybody wants to know what's up, ask him yourself. Don't be writing shit on an internet forum. Yeah. So, you know, people will always talk smack about somebody else. They'll always do it. Yeah. You know, no matter who you are, people will talk smack about you. There'll always be somebody that'll be nice to your face and hate you behind your back. Yeah. You know, I've heard all kinds of crap. People have had a pop at me about not being a very good coach. People have had pops at me about all kinds of things. I couldn't care what they think. All I know is
jealousy as well.
You know, people say what they want. You know, it's like arseholes are entitled to their opinion. Yeah. I'm still the only Brit to have ever had UFC world champion. Yeah. Whether that's solely my doing or not, it's not. You know, the massive training facility behind Mike, and you know, he trained with other Brits before me, but I was there at the end.
So just to expand on the UFC a bit, then obviously you're coaching Michael Bisping. Being a promoter yourself, how did you view those UFC shows? Do you think they were just like completely next level to anything you've seen before?
The UFC's an animal. It's an absolute machine, and it's so well oiled. Yeah. From the day you arrive, so wherever you are in the world, you get there on Tuesday before the fight. Don't matter where you are in the world. Different with the COVID restrictions now. Yeah. But normally you arrive on Tuesday. You sign in.
Of the fight week.
Of fight week. Yeah. So like when we fought Kelvin Gastelum, Mike's last fight in Shanghai, they flew us out on the Monday. We landed in Shanghai Tuesday morning, early hours. We spend the day. The fighter will then go and do his check weight, go and get all your gear. You get your UFC bag and your tracksuit and all your bits to give you. They'll then spend their afternoon signing thousands and thousands of posters that get sent to the people who are part of the fight club. Right. And then there's rafts of press after that. These fresh photographs. So all the photos you see on the fight night, when you square them off on the TV, they're taken that week there. So if you've got hair this week, you've got a bald head next week, you'll have they won't use an old picture of you. They'll take that fresh footage. And the whole thing is a finely greased animal. There's training rooms, there's check weight rooms. You can access training rooms all times of day and night. And this is all in the confines of the hotel. Right. And yeah, you know, the thing, there's nothing like it. But they've probably got 80 employees. Yeah. 80 employees, and they've taken over a whole hotel. UFC London, they take over the Hilton Canary Wharf. Take over it. So all the second floor is UFC. Right. And they'll have an office, probably 3 times the size of this gym, we just destined it with different people doing different things.
Yeah.
Tickets, VIPs.
You probably have like 20 people alone just on the social media team or something like that.
Social media team, massive.
Yeah.
And then you've got the independent press people that work for the UFC that they'll look after the main card, or they'll look after the main fight depending on how big it is.
Yeah.
And the security and stuff involved.
Did the guys get flew out? You know like the Gareth and what's he called?
Gareth A. Davis.
Yeah. Did they get flew out and stuff like by UFC or did they?
No. So the press make their own way there.
Right. Okay.
But fight week on a big fight like UFC London. So if it's a numbered show, so let's say it's like UFC 260, not a fight night show. You'll turn up at the concourse of one of these shows.
Yeah.
And the who's who of the UFC will be there. When you arrived, we were talking about UFC 120 with Bisping for Akiyama.
Yeah.
I got some tickets given to me. I invited Matt Scare and his son down. After the show, I've come back to the hotel. They've got there before us. I've gone to get my bags because we're flying to Thailand the day after.
Right.
And Scare, Cassie Robinson, his son, they sat at the table with Ross the Real Deal Pearson and Randy Couture. And they're sat having a burger with Randy Couture.
Yeah.
I turn up at the table, I have a quick conversation about Expendables, the second one.
Yeah.
I said, right, we've got to go, we're going to Thailand. Yeah, see you, man. See you, Cass. See you, Cass. And she, sat there like first time terms with Randy Couture, like it's, the guy's a global icon.
Yeah.
And you're walking through the hotel and Buffer's walking past you.
Yeah.
All these people that you see that are next level are just they're just milling around.
Yeah.
You go and get a sauna and you be sat with Rashad talking rubbish.
Yeah.
So see, like obviously you were Bisping's Muay Thai coach, is that right? So were you part of the team when he beat Rockhold for the title?
So I've been part of the Bisping team since 2008. Mike moved to America 2011. I was out in America when he first went over there. We fought Jason Miller.
Yeah. We
then fought Chael Sonnen, triple header on Fox, when the first time the Fox deal and all the rest of it.
Right.
And I've stayed with the guy. He could have then severed his ties with the UK. He's in America, it's the land of opportunity. There's a million people out there to teach you all sorts. But he's always had a very, very small camp. When he severed with the Wolves Lair over here, he kept everything very tight. So Jason Perillo is the head coach.
Yeah, I remember,
Perillo, the best boxing coach I've ever come across. The guy is the guy's another level. He's something different. Brady thinks the Jits coach, and I do the Thai, and that's it.
Right.
We have a strength conditioning guy that comes in. So when Bisping got the Rockhold fight, Bisping was in Canada, filming Triple X: The Return of Xander Cage. He plays the character Hawk in it. On the 15th of May, which was 2 weeks prior, we did main event, the last one at Event City.
Right.
Not Event City, sorry, at the USN Arena. During the show, a young lad I used to train raced motorbikes professionally, and he was going into the TT. He was racing in Northern Ireland. He was only 20, a lad called Malachi Mitchell Thomas, and he got killed racing in the Northwest 100. So after the show, the week after, we went out to Ireland and with his ashes and all the rest of it. Sorry, the Isle of Man. And his dad was out there, and we paid our respects and all the rest of it. And he rings me, Mike. What are you up to? I said, I'm in the Isle of Man. I said, doing Mal's ashes and all the rest of it. And he said, I'm fighting. When? 10 days. What do you mean you're fighting in 10 days? You're fighting in 10 days? Rockhold for the title. He's winding me up. He went, no, seriously, Daz, I am. I'm fighting in 10 days. I said, I'm in the Isle of Man, mate.
Yeah.
No way I could get my visa sorted that quickly.
Right.
I was stuck in the Isle of Man anyway. And to get back from the Isle of Man is a nightmare anyway. I was over there with my motorbike and the lads and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's all right, don't worry, I've got it covered. He said, I'm going for a run, I'm going to get the weight off, I'm going to turn up and fight. And if you watch the documentary that's coming out shortly this year, it goes through the process of that fight.
Right.
So he's like 208 pounds, running through the streets of Canada, trying to get the weight off, gets back, it's a couple of sets of pads, turns up, fights Rockhold. Jason said every time he throws, he's dropping his hand, he's open for a left hook. And if you watch the fight, Mike's hunting for the left hook, and he knocks him out. He gets out of the cage with his belt, goes back to the change, gets changed, comes out of the venue, and I'm the first person he rings. And I remember laying in bed at sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, the time difference. And I'm that made up for this guy, I'm crying. The guy, with no notice, has just won the UFC World title. The thing that makes it a bit different for me is that a lot of guys will win belts, but then lose them under defence.
Yeah.
So you're really the champion. I think a champion is someone who's managed to defend what they've got, to cement themselves at that. So then, obviously, the next thing after that was Henderson here.
Yeah.
But
That first fight they had was an absolute war, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, I hate watching that.
it was awful.
Yeah.
But I mean, love him or hate him, the whole Bisping thing.
Yeah.
He was like a fairy tale to me.
Yeah.
I never ever expected to train a guy like him.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah.
Got a little tiny Thai boxing gym. What do I know? And he came and he never left.
Yeah,
and,
loyal guy.
you know, we had a really good rapport. We're very good friends. We weren't just training partners. We became very, very good friends.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to remember, this is a guy that won a world title and defended it blind in one eye. Completely blind in the right eye. And people think, well, because you see a bit, can't see anything, he's blind. He's got a glass eye. Can't see anything. The eye's dead. Vitor Belfort kicked him in the head, detached the retina. He had surgery. About 10 weeks after the surgery, a piece of silicone gets detached, blocks the tear duct in his eye. His eye swells to 10 times its normal size. Nearly loses the eye, nearly killed him. Gets rushed flown by a helicopter.
Yeah.
He has emergency surgery, and to relieve the pressure, get the silicone out of his eye. But you'll never see again. It's over. We spent years blagging the eyesight test so he could carry on fighting, because you've got to remember that's his only livelihood.
Yeah.
And he's now got a very expensive livelihood because he's moved to America. He lives in a £2 million mansion, you know, and he has to get to where he gets to.
Yeah.
And he has 7 fights, blind in one eye. Manages to win the world title and defend it blind in one eye. And people, like I say,
get the credit for it.
love him or hate him. I mean, people kind of know now what's going on, but at the time they had no idea. But I don't know anybody else who's done that.
No.
And my analogy to it, and this is in the documentary, is he's like Rocky Balboa. If you imagine, you've watched Rocky 1 and 2. Rocky 1, he has the fight, he gets a draw, or just loses to Apollo, whatever it is. Rocky 2, Mickey turns up at the flat and says he'll kill you inside of a couple of rounds. He says, see my finger? Oh yeah, it's there. You can't see it, kid, it's not there.
Yeah.
You try driving like that.
Yeah.
Because you can't see anything,
Yeah.
You've got no eye.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is a guy comes from Clitheroe, slept in his car, had zero money, managed to get into the Ultimate Fighter, win the Ultimate Fighter, goes on to be UFC World Champion and defend it, blind in one eye. And love him or hate him, Mike Bisping is the true Rocky Balboa story.
When you're saying then about defending the belts and stuff as well, it was weird at that time because like Anderson Silva was the holder, he got beat by Weidman. Next fight, Weidman got beat by Rockhold, and then next fight, Rockhold got beat by Bisping, and then obviously Bisping held it for.
I don't think he could believe it, Rockhold, could he, when he got beat?
No,
When he like showboating and that, and then he just got caught when he was like pissing about.
He wasn't. No, he was covering his hands by his side. He expected to walk through, Mike. He just expected to walk through it. The thing with Bisping was early on in his career, he put a lot of pressure on himself, and
because he wasn't like heavyweight, was he?
Yeah. They only came down to middleweight. And he used to come in the gym and he'd spar with All-My a lot and did net wrestle, and he'd be in the gym with the rest of them. We'd all be training normal class and I'd be in the ring padding him. And he put that much pressure on himself. You know, I mean, UFC send DVDs all the time. It's digital footage now, but at the time you send DVDs of your opponent and they send it. So I'd get a copy, the other coach would get a copy, and you'd sit there watching. And you'd be sat in his house for hours watching it, saying, look at that, look at this. But what one guy does one fight might not do the next. Some people have inherent traits. Henderson's got that fucking ridiculous backhand, and that's his thing. You know, he like spends his life trying to club you. Rockhold, because he'd beaten him so easily the first time, kicked him in the head because he couldn't see it, dropped him, then managed to submit him. So this time it was you need to stop that. And out of the last 7 opponents, 5 of Bisping's last opponents have all been southpaw. Bisping's orthodox, but they've all been southpaw. The kryptonite to any orthodox fight is a southpaw.
Especially when you can't see the fucking left hook
exactly.
coming.
And you can't see anything coming off that side. So I think Rocco just thought, I'll go in there, kick him around a bit and then submit him or knock him out. That's what he thought was going to happen. Perillo had identified through all Rocco's training and fights, he drops, he's open for a left hook. And if you watch the fight, Mike hunts for it. And Jason's shouting to him, relax, relax. And as he relaxes, he catches him. the chin goes, it comes down, and then he's like, I don't think Mike actually knew what was going on. He's like, I'm just going to keep hitting you.
Yeah.
I don't think Mike actually knew in his own head
Yeah.
what was going on until afterwards. But it's the same with the Anderson Silva fight before it.
Yeah.
We're in London.
You went to that, didn't you?
No, I was gonna go.
Oh, right, I thought you went.
We're fighting Anderson Silva, the greatest of all time. And I'm starting with Dan Hardy, and he's like, what do you think? I said, Mike's the best Bisping we've ever had now. So, as he's got older, he's got cleverer, he's got smart, he's had to listen to his body. He's more chilled out. And because he's more chilled out, he's now taking more notice of what people are saying.
Yeah.
And I thought, if we've got a chance of beating Anderson Silva, it's now. He drops him in the first, takes a bit of a slacking in the second, but still manages to win the round. Third round, Mike's gum shield comes out, he's shouting to Herb Dean, my mouthpiece. The rules are, if there's a momentary pause in the action, so they're moving around but they're not hitting, the ref should shout time, replace the gum shield. So Mike actually looks at Herb Dean, my mouthpiece. Now he's looking down there, and he can't say anything out of this eye. And Anderson throws a flying knee, drops Mike. As he drops him, the buzzer goes.
Yeah, because I thought it was over when that
Everybody thought it was over,
yeah.
but we didn't. We're at the top of the cage screaming, the fight's not over. Herb Dean gives us the thumbs up, and Mike goes, I'm all right. He goes, yeah, I know, the fight's still on. But by the time everybody else, including the UFC officials, realise what's going on, we've got like, I think 12 or 18 seconds for sitting down and actually in the corner. He goes out at the beginning of the fourth, and I said to Perillo, he's still unconscious. He was out on his feet. He then batters Anderson Silva in the fourth.
Yeah.
And he can't remember it. You can ask him, he sat here now, he couldn't tell you what happened in that round.
Yeah.
But he puts a slacking on Silva. Silva comes back in the fifth. I've got the scorecards on my phone. 1, 2 and 4.
Yeah.
We win the fight 3 rounds to 2. And we beat Anderson Silva, and for me, that's my defining moment in sport. I've been in the corner and trained a guy that's beaten the greatest of all time. And that is my defining moment.
I'd say that's possibly even bigger than winning the belt, isn't it?
Beating Anderson Silva for me is.
Wow.
Like I said, I wasn't in the corner for the belt, but I wasn't in the corner because we didn't have a training camp. Nothing was planned. I was away giving somebody's ashes. We didn't have anything going on.
Last minute.
And then
Crazy.
we had the GSP thing in Madison Square Gardens.
Yeah.
And then literally 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. Phone call was Sunday evening. I'm out doing a jog, my phone rings, it's Mike, hi, what's up? I need to go to this address in the morning for me. What is it? It's the Chinese consulate. For? So you take your passport, I said, you're flying out Wednesday. Oh, you're flying out a week Monday.
Yeah.
You need to be there Wednesday morning. Why? I'm fighting Gastelum.
Yeah.
Like, it was a case of, because the GSP thing, he'd been submitted but not really blown his wad. He was like, I'll fight again.
Yeah.
Straight out to Shanghai. It was mental.
Wow. Crazy times.
Crazy. Absolutely mental. But no matter where you are in the world, it's the same people. The UFC bringing the same people.
Yeah.
So you know all the same people.
Yeah.
The mechanics and the machine and the thing's still there. I mean, at the moment, you've got a fight coming up shortly. You've got Rocky Edwards fighting Diaz.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rocky
Rocky Edwards doesn't get the recognition he deserves because he's the quiet man.
Yeah.
But the guy's good.
Come out the blue,
Really
that,
good.
didn't it? That fight, really.
I mean, everybody was like screaming Darren Till.
Yeah.
Then Till obviously loses to Woodley and whatnot. He gets a draw, so he beats Gastelum.
Yeah.
They have a 5-round fight. Then Rocky Edwards, he sort of sat in the background and nobody's really paying much attention. But Henry Clementson, man, Henry, what?
That guy from Corfit.
Corfit, mate. I've done UFCs with Henry. I referee Henry's shows.
Right.
We chat about it all the time. And I had Mark Casey and Scott Askin, UFC of London.
Yeah.
He had Rocky on. And we sort of sat there saying, are we going through like some working men's clubs to this? And we sort of just sat around looking. Because sometimes you have a bit of a reality check. Like,
but you do.
you know what I mean? Because
it's
a completely different animal.
Yeah.
And until you've been a part of it, nobody will ever understand it.
Yeah.
You have to actually be a part of it behind the scenes, and then you'll be like, "What? This is it is a different animal altogether." I mean, all the Muay Thai guys, MMA guys are shit. They're this, they're that, the other. And don't get me wrong, the majority of MMA guys the top 1% are only early A class at best.
Yeah.
You might have the one or two who is absolutely superb. Do you know?
Do you ever have conversations with any Thai boxers? I know you worked with Lofthouse for a while, and just try and almost convince them to get into the MMA, or not really?
Now, Lofty wanted to get into the MMA anyway.
Yeah.
Lofty's quality.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. I'm not saying anything I've never said before. Andy just doesn't. Andy doesn't believe in Andy enough.
Yeah.
First fight Andy got, and I think he told you guys about it, was on Bama.
Yeah. Big show.
We get to Ireland.
Big show, man.
Andy, whatever you do, guys are wrestling, don't throw a body kick.
Yeah.
First shot, body kick. Guy lies in for a round. Right, Andy, listen to me. Go out there, press with your hand, let him have some hands, use a low kick, move, don't let him shoot. Just keep him off, move around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, no problems. Yeah. Fight, body kick, straight on his back. Okay, Andy, last round, mate. You need to do something here, mate. So go out there, use your hands, use your footwork. Don't throw the body kick. I've got it. Body kick. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, he learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
Lying on his back for 3 rounds. Oh, it was ridiculous.
Big show though, isn't it? I'm sure it's on TV as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But it's.
Did you get him that fight?
I didn't get him that fight yet. So Andy, it was UFC Manchester, the Henderson fight, and I got a phone call from the UFC saying, "Will you corner Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts in Manchester?"
Yeah.
So I turned it down at first. I said, "I'm not cornering somebody I'm not trained."
Right.
And then I got a phone call a little bit higher up from the UFC saying, "Daz, I need a favour, mate. We've got a problem getting Henry Hoof in the country. A visa problem. I need a striking coach."
Yeah.
Right, okay. Danny comes over to the gym. Never met him before. Big southpaw, very powerful. We did some pads. Okay. We sort of instantly hit it off, got a bit of a rapport.
Right.
Lofty was there, Carlos DeGrassa was there. They did a bit of a photo shoot, some rolling about with him. And his manager at the time, a guy called Adam Horner. Lofty basically hit it off with Adam and he said, "Look, I want to get into this." So he said, "Well, get yourself up to Aspire, where Danny is, and do some training with the boys."
Yeah.
So Lofty went up there training with Dean and Phil. And next thing, Lofty's on Bama. I'm like, what? Fighting a kid called Clearer. We had Alan Philpott fighting, headlining that Bama show. So Horner's basically said, "Look, I've got another guy, I need him on." Lofty gets on Bama. Massive, no amateur fights, no ground game, nothing, just a body kick. But it taught him a lot of that.
Yeah.
He's then gone on to have some really good wins.
Yeah.
But still demolishing people with, decent striking.
Yeah.
He did win by armbar on a show at Urmston on ice. But some people make the transition, some people won't.
Yeah.
You've got to stop bouncing your lead leg and you've got to forget your Thai boxing. You've got to be on your toes. Look at Panikos.
Yeah.
Superb at what he does. Couldn't cut in the MMA.
Yeah.
Couldn't move enough. He was fighting on the same ice show. I wasn't in his corner, I stood behind the corner.
Yeah.
Brendan was in the corner.
Yeah.
Kane, it might have been Princey, I'm not sure who else was in the corner.
Right.
And I remember him getting up at one point and he's looking at me and I'm like, move. You need to be told, you've got to be able to move.
Yeah.
And he just got, wrestler just sat on him. Panikos hit him with shots that should have put this kid in hospital. In fact, the kid did go to hospital afterwards, but he beat Panikos. Kid was boring as hell, but he just held him down. Dakota made the switch to MMA through me.
Yeah.
I sort of I mentioned it for a bit to her. I was in Selfridges shopping.
Right.
Where have you been hiding? Oh, doing this, doing that. I said, look, are you going to make this jump or are you going to carry on sort of, talking about it? I don't know where to train. I said, get your stuff, meet me at Starbucks tomorrow. I'll take you to the gym. Yeah. I took her to Aspire.
Not a lot back since.
I've never seen her since.
Yeah.
She's flying at the moment. Dakota will get into the UFC.
Yeah.
She makes a pro debut soon. I have not to do with it anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a thing between me and Lisa Howard for the I told you so conversation.
Right.
And I will have the I told you so conversation. She'll make it. She's just changed gyms. The Manchester top team thing's got a lot of resurgence at the moment. whether the switch in gyms is a good or a bad thing, I don't know. I mean, they've got some good guys there. Lerone Murphy. Lerone's doing really well. Again, another tricky southpaw.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, best of luck to anybody that's fighting it. It's if you look at the MMA guys versus you guys, I could take you now for a sparring session with some of the Aspire guys, and you'd up on one leg, keep your balance, and with one leg you take the PISS out of some of them. Yeah. You'll get 500 quid a fight, they're getting 5 or 15 grand a fight. Yeah, and then you walk out the gym with your head up your ass and your back thinking, wow, I just absolutely murdered that guy and I'm getting 500 quid a fight. Yeah. These guys are making a living.
Tough one, isn't it?
It's what it is, isn't it?
It is what it is.
One thing I wanted to mention before we finish, it got announced last week that Sergio Aguero is leaving Man City after 10 years. I just wanted to know how you feel about it. I'm still a bit devastated, to be honest.
I'm kind of devastated and kind of not. I think Aguero's got to that point now where I think injury prone, end of his career, his age, I think he's definitely done us a service and it's time to sort of like tip his hat and go. Same when Torre left. Torre, our company, both could have done another season for us, I think. Yeah. He's like the derby. People said to me, "Oh, you're murderers at the derby." I said, "It's a derby. We never win a derby."
I always say that.
You know, it is what it is.
When I was a kid, like I'm 30 now, so I've grown up with City being like shit for half of my life, like 99 playoff final and stuff. So like when people say, "Oh yeah, you're smashed in this derby," I'm just thinking, "Oh, I don't know, man. Fucking hell, it's a derby."
It can go either way.
Yeah,
but then you'll always have the plastic Reds. That probably couldn't even mention half the team if you asked them. I'm pretty sure if you asked, I'm on the team now even going, well, you got David Beckham,
you know what,
Brian Robson, Ronaldo.
I feel like I love the football a bit now.
See the excuses. See, we're all Man United fans, but none of them know anything about football. Progba, who's he?
So one last thing, what's next for you then? Are we going to see you back on the scene or what?
To be honest with you, I've still got my hand in the coaching. Yeah. The smallest hand in at the moment.
Never say never.
So I had obviously Mark Casey and Scott Askin. Yeah. And then tore my shoulder very, very badly. And I kind of really fell out of love with the sport. Right. I think the big move now in that sort of scene, John Gillies, he's doing really well at Four Corners. Howson's over there helping out, and some of the other boys. Yeah. You know, they're making big moves. That's kind of where the MMA scene's sort of going. I don't know. Everybody keeps asking me to promote again. Everybody keeps asking me to promote.
We've had a lot of requests, haven't we? A lot of people.
Yeah, the problem is though, there's no fights out there. That's the problem. There's no fights out there. You name me now. I'll ask Pete Spencer the same question. Just give me one domestic super fight. Name me one. One.
Maybe Haggerty and Paul could fight each other or something. Yeah.
But would Paul fight Haggerty? And would Haggerty?
I don't think Haggerty.
Obviously, we've been in one now.
But, so what's in it for Haggerty? Yeah. But it's not. It's a good fight. It's not a super fight. What
about Liam and Charlie Peters again? Do you think that'd happen again?
It's been done. Why does Liam not need to fight again? Yeah. It's been done. I'll say the same thing to you that I said to Pete Spencer. Get a 26-year-old Charlie Peters. He's 26, 28, whatever he is. Get Liam Harrison at the same age. Yeah. And that fight would have been very different. Yeah. Would have been 2 rounds. No offence to Charlie. Yeah. But he's fought a guy that's coming to the end of his road. Liam now is super sharp, strong, dangerous. Liam will always be Liam. But put the two of them together in the prime, and that's a different fight. Yeah. You know, that was a 5-round, whatever it was. Put them together in the prime, and for my money, Harrison wins KO round 2 all day, every day. Matt Skate beat Charlie Peters. You know, they Steve Gladstone and Kedal had it all planned out. Yeah. It was an easy fight for them. We went down there and he absolutely railroaded Peters for 5 rounds. You know, we went down and did what we did. But take Harrison.
Is that what you need? Obviously, a big, almost a potential.
You need super. You don't need one. You need 5. Yeah. When I first started this, we had the fights. The fights were there. Yeah. Watson Wakeling never came off. It was a massive fight. Harrison won. Harrison Peters. Big fights. They're not there domestically. So then you're back to Brian's formula. Yeah, and then to bring in anybody that extract external interest, they've got to be a massive name for somebody over here to know who they are.
Yeah. Is anyone you've ever approached and you've not been able to get?
Plenty
Big
people.
fighter.
Yodson Clay,
Right. What was the reason behind that?
70 grand.
What?
70 grand. So they used to be a boxing series called Contender,
Yeah.
and then they did a Muay Thai version of it.
John Wayne Parr was on, wasn't he?
John Wayne Parr, Dave Paquette from KO Gym.
I think I know him.
So Dave Paquette was a world champion from
Right.
London, from
Okay.
KO Gym. Yodson Clay, Jabbar Askarov,
Yeah.
you know, all them boys were in it. So straight after that, we wanted Yod to fight Stephen Wakeling.
Right. 70k.
His value went through the roof.
That's mental.
It was like Buckow. I mean, MSA managed to get Buckow versus Jordan. Probably one of the biggest fights, Muay Thai wise, ever.
Yeah.
You know,
The MEM, wasn't it?
no, it was at London at XL.
Ah, right, okay.
It was at London at XL.
Was it a Master Sken show?
It was an MSA promotion.
Yeah.
Masken wasn't really involved at the time then.
Okay.
He'd kind of been sort of pushed out of the way with the politics that happened within that organisation.
Okay.
But so you know, we've looked at loads of massive international fights, but we looked at like the top 1%. We looked at Petrosian Jordan
Yeah, that'd have been quite
before it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it has happened,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we looked at before it happened.
What was the money Petrosian was on, do you know?
35, 40 grand.
Wow, it's big figures, isn't it? Yeah.
These guys get it, mate.
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
sponsored by
Stone Island.
Stone
innit?
Island. You don't walk around with
Get
Stone
me some
Island
stone
shorts
in it, yeah.
and pay someone 500 quid.
Yeah, that's true.
Chilling with Balotelli and all that, innit?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
to bring in proper names that people actually know,
Yeah.
because that's the only way you get the overall value.
Yeah.
I can say to you tomorrow, right? I'm getting Liam Harrison. I'm going to get to fight Flip Flong Dong. Who's Flip Flong Dong? Oh, he's fantastic. He's this, he's that, the other. You go on the internet, you ain't finding him.
Yeah.
I've got him from
Thailand.
the local restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, I've just got some knockover fight.
Yeah.
You very soon realise that you've been conned and somebody's brought in a dog shit foreign.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that on a big scale. Small shows do it. Small shows will bring in really random fighters from abroad that'll fight for nothing and just to fly, you know, just for the experience of fighting in the UK.
Plus, it may make the card look, oh, we've got some Italians or French or.
Yeah, but half the time they're rubbish.
Yeah.
Because the ones that are really good that everybody knows, they
Yeah.
won't pay them properly.
Yeah.
Would you go and fight in Italy now or in France now for 500 quid against Duke Noir or Pinker or somebody like that? Would you go and do it?
You know what? I don't know, you know.
But
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
you do it.
I wouldn't, no.
Going back to what you asked me, what's next, would I promote and all the rest of it again?
Yeah.
I've no idea. I keep saying never say never. If I could sit there and actually be bothered to put a card together
Yeah.
and it looked like it might stack up,
Yeah.
I may have another do at it. Just for nostalgia reasons, I might just do one more.
Yeah.
Just to upset the apple cart a little bit. But I don't know, it's hard. I mean, what will be interesting is at the end of this, when life returns to normal, if it ever does return to normal, and we've learned to live with COVID and all the rest of it, 3,000 people or 4,000 people in a tiny venue where we're all huddled together inside with live sports action, will it ever return properly? I don't know.
I don't know.
And the other thing is, who'll be left standing? Because there'll be gyms that will never return from this. There'll be plenty of fighters that are too busy eating jammy dodgers for a year and they're thinking, I can't be bothered with that. I've now took up playing Monopoly or Fortnite online or whatever it is they're doing now other than going to the gym and get kicked in the head.
Yeah.
So who'll be left standing? That will be the interesting part of it. Alex Foreman's trying to promote at the moment. Craig Jose's trying to promote at the moment. They're all doing their own little things. But will it ever get back to what it was? I don't know.
I guess time will tell.
We'll see.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate
problem,
having a
boss.
chat with you. Thank you to Mark for having us down. Really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll see you again soon.